All right, we want to get you back to that breaking news we were telling you about a little earlier. Someone shot and killed a midshipman's mother at the hotel near the Naval Academy. The Annapolis Police Chief Edward Jackson is giving us an update on the investigation right now. Let's listen in.
But the victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. The victim was identified as Michelle Jordan Cummings. She's an African-American female, 57 years of age, who resides in Houston, Texas. Our preliminary investigation reveals that the victim was sitting on the patio area at a local hotel and was not the intended target. At this time in the investigation, it is believed that the shots were fired on Pleasant Street and traveled a short distance, shooting the victim. Of course, this is an active and fluid investigation, and we urge anyone with information about this incident to contact detectives at 410-260-3439. You can also call Metro Crime Stoppers at 1-866-7-LOCK-UP and submit an anonymous tip. If your tip leads, of course, to the arrest and indictment, you may be eligible for a cash reward for up to $2,000. I'd also like to state real quick before I turn it over to the mayor that we have detectives from the Annapolis PD working 24 hours a day. I've authorized the detectives to work around the clock to follow up on any investigative leads. A very tragic story. Ms. Cummings and her husband brought their son to settle in. He's to be inducted into the United States Naval Academy. He's also a prospect for the football team. So what turned out to be a celebratory occasion for the family, celebrating their son going into one of the best institutions in the United States, turned into a tragic event. So after I turn it over to the mayor, we'll gladly answer any questions and give you any updates that we have, that we can reveal. Thank you. This is I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Gavin Buckley.
So this city's heart is broken. Somebody has lost their mum on the most proudest day probably of her life. So there are no circumstances where this can be tolerated. My sympathies go out to the family. We are focused on getting guns off the street, but it only takes one criminal with a gun for the results to be tragic. This was a horrific outcome for the kind of everyday gun violence that many cities across America see. Annapolis, sadly, is not immune. We have deployed our crisis intervention team to assist the victim's family. Police Chief Jackson has been updating me regularly on the status, and every resource is being deployed to solve this case. The perpetrators will be found and they will be held to account. Thank you. I just want to tell you who is with me, our head of public safety, Alderwoman Rhonda Pendell-Charles. The alderwoman for this ward, Alderwoman.
You know, this is the impact of the gun in the hands of someone who fires indiscriminately. What we hear, or we're just hearing about, is the loss of a mother, Michelle Jordan Cummings, who came here with her husband to settle her son in to be inducted at the Naval Academy. He was a prospect for the football team. And as the police chief said, what was supposed to be a celebratory time is now a tragedy because that gunshot killed this mother from Houston, Texas.
Chief Jackson saying the mom, again, just sitting out there on the patio. You know, this is supposed to be a celebratory event and hit by gunfire. Investigators, he mentioned, they are on this case right now trying to find the person or persons responsible for this. But my goodness, we're thinking of that family tonight. You can continue watching and listening to that right now on our WUSA 9 app.